transcending history and the world, a tale of souls and swords, eternally retold.
What is up, everybody? Whether you're watching this in morning, noon, evening, or midnight, I hope you're having a good day. First, before I get started, I really have to thank everybody that supported me into reaching 1,000 subscribers on this Widow channel. I said I would make this video at 600 subs, but I started stalling, so here we are at 1,000. I have to also give thanks to these 5 good friends of mine: Dave, Ryan, Aim Saying, One Eye God, and Iman. Good friends, but also actively supported me on this channel for a long time, even outside of Soulcalibur content. So I would greatly appreciate if here on YouTube you gave Ryan, Aim Saying, One Eye God, and Iman a sub. They make awesome Soulcalibur content as well as other games. Check out their other games too. And over on Twitch, give Dave a follow. He's the good friend of mine that I learned how to fight against Grow from. So help support these fine content creators too. And once again, thanks for 1,000 subscribers. So what beholds the future of Soulcalibur? Will the soul still burn, or will it fade into despair? Over the course of time, I've spoken with people and I've heard what many others think what will happen. Some think the series is fine and will continue, and others think the series is dead and this is the end. Well, that is what I want to talk about. I'm honestly damn near nervous making this video because it's a small community. A lot of us know each other, and I just know there will be mixed feelings about my takes. Some might take it to heart, I don't know. And I've been wanting to make a video about this for a very long time. There's so much to say, I damn near don't know where to start. Actually, I do. Soulcalibur VI for the most part is seen as a good game. First off, they brought back majority of the legacy characters and fan favorites, in which most were missing from Soulcalibur V. So the roster is actually great. The gameplay itself brought a lot of new and different varieties to the characters. Very combos and mix-up heavies, arguably the most any of its previous games. The clashes of weapons, break attacks, unblockables, guard impact, resist impact, soul charge, and critical edge. Every single aspect of the fight is just oozing in eye candy. The amount of characters and matchup knowledge you discover from yourself or taught by another player is endless. Like a history book, you grow stronger, surround yourself with powerful fighters, gaining experience and wisdom across the regions, find a suitable training partner, and build each other up. For character creation mode, there's so many different ways and techniques you can use to create an already existing character or your very own original character, or even original customs on a Soulcalibur character. Like myself, on Soulcalibur you can expand on your creative mind, take online, show off to your friends or other people. These last 2 activities inside of the game I mentioned are major reasons that built this small community and gave everybody a chance to be recognized and known for one thing or another. Soulcalibur VI has gave people multiple different ways to become something big in the community. This is something other fighting game communities don't have, as they'll only pay attention to the pro scene. But in Soulcalibur, you have various options to contribute to the community. However, regardless of that, you may not like what you hear, but Soulcalibur VI is 100% a dead game. It's been dead for a few years now. I can already feel the anger brewing from people that still believe it's alive. I can already feel the wind of weapons being swung my way. I may need to sleep with one eye open. For now, take a quick look at this clip of me trying to find a lobby on Soulcalibur VI. I mean, does that look like an alive game? And before you mention it depends on the time of day, while that's true, Soulcalibur VI is worldwide, so different regions, different time zones. Someone has to be on. If you play other fighting games that are alive, you will be sure to find someone no matter what the time zone is. But for Soulcalibur VI, that's not the case. Why? Because it's dead. Some of you know this, but sometimes I'll make a lobby sit waiting for 30 plus minutes when no one's showing, and yeah, after so long, by the time someone joins, I'm AFK, went to do something. Sorry about that, but for some of you that join, I remember in 2022, I would go to the corner store while having a lobby open, and when I get back home and look, there's still no one. And I have to say, this game is filled with so many Smurf accounts. Half of the players are just the same people on multiple 5 to 10 accounts. It's actually bizarre how many Smurfs here pose as Sprouts. But let's truly be honest, just because a handful of us still played the game does not mean it's alive. Discontinued updates since late 2020. Long was the last update, I believe, and we never even got a season 3. Now you could say pandemic played a factor, in which it did, but 2020 was a damn good year for Soulcalibur VI. 2020 was peak year for the game, so I don't think all the fault can fall on COVID. Some days there's literally no available lobbies like I showed. Even rank mode, a lot of times it's at most 15 people on it, and you'll run into the same 2 or 3 people. The fact you are fighting against the same people every single day is a clear indication that the game is way past its prime. Like, I cannot see how anybody not see that at this point. The major ESL tournaments have stopped, so there's no more official esport tournaments, which is why the remaining players on here make their own homemade tournaments. And even when the ESL tournaments were still going, they stopped broadcasting top 8 on Twitch back in late 2021, mostly because Soulcalibur's Twitch viewerships was much lower than other fighting game ESL streamed at the time. Number 6 did not go without its fair share of in-game issues. First and foremost, reversal edge. That's all I'll say. Onwards. Online is kind of a hot mess. The net code is very poor. Sure, some people do actually have bad connections, but Namco servers are pretty crap. There's no casual matchmaking that would give other options rather than us just waiting in lobbies. Being able to pair up with somebody without rank points on the line would have been ideal. Speaking of rank mode is completely loaded with problems. The matchmaking is horrendously terrible. It's inconsistent with ranks pairing up with similar ranks a day. A 1 day Sprout could pair up with a 3-year S rank, and there's no control over that. There's no rank filters. You can't see the connection of the opponent before you accept. The rank point system is freaking terribly decided. Like, you can beat somebody 5 ranks ahead of you and only gain 140 points. The only way to get any significant points is to pair up with the same rank as you or next to you. But you freaking can't, because you keep pairing up with different ranks all over the place. And don't even get me started on the point system at B1 and A1, the 2 worst ranks to be at. Absolutely barbaric. Whoever the crackhead was at Bandai and Project Souls that was in charge of rank mode should be tested for heroin. Listen, at this point in 2025, if you think Soulcalibur VI is still actively live, I am sorry, but you are living in denial. Now, Soulcalibur is my favorite fighting game alongside Mortal Kombat. Well, Soulcalibur is probably number 1 now, since MK is doing really bad. MK1 might have killed the franchise, but that's a whole topic for another day. I've been playing Soulcalibur since I was 3 years old. Soulcalibur 1 is literally my very first video game I ever played in my life, the Sega Dreamcast. So obviously I want nothing more than to see this series continue and not go down a bloody roar path, being imprisoned in limbo. That would be heartbreaking. Let's look at the timeline of releases for the Soulcalibur games, because I think that's more important than one may think. Soul Blade in arcades 1995, then released on PlayStation 1 in 1996. Soulcalibur 1 in arcades 1998, released on Dreamcast in 1999. Soulcalibur 2 in arcades 2002, released on console in 2003. That was the last of the arcade releases. Now straight to console, starting at Soulcalibur III, released in 2005, Soulcalibur IV, released in 2008, Soulcalibur V, released in 2012, and then Soulcalibur VI, released in 2018. Now, what's something that we can notice from this timeline of releases? From Soul Blade all the way to Soulcalibur IV, the game's been fairly smooth. 2 to 4 years apart, then Soulcalibur V to Soulcalibur VI is 6 years apart, making it the longest gap in between releases. Why this is important to note, it may not seem like a big of a deal. Well, Soulcalibur VI almost didn't happen, as Soulcalibur V nearly killed the series. First off, when Soulcalibur V first came out, I didn't even know there was a damn 5th Soulcalibur. Only reason I found out was because my mother was at Best Buy and brought it for me. You can probably imagine how shocked I was when I saw it, but it also goes to show how absolutely terrible the marketing was for Soulcalibur V when compared to Soulcalibur IV's amazing marketing and promotion, though to be fair, part of that was help from Lucasfilm for having the Star Wars characters in it, but still fact remains, Soulcalibur V poor marketing was a foreshadowing of what impact it will put the entire franchise into. Now, whether you like Soulcalibur V or didn't, the results stand that Soulcalibur V put the series in a bad place. The game failed, mediocre content, poorly done story mode, terrible roster. I mean, what were they thinking, replacing long-time legacy characters with the next generation of their children or students? Half of them are forgettable as hell. Like, I don't think I have heard anybody talk about Shiba in eons. I did think Natsu was cool. I actually think she's more interesting as a character than Taki, but that's the only one. All the other replacements are such downgrades. The roster alone turned me away from the game, and clearly this was a big problem anyway, since a lot of people's reviews of the game, roster is one of the main negative feedbacks. Why do companies and writers think people want to see their favorite characters completely replaced? I don't get it, but it's not the only one. I've heard people talk about many things they did not like about the game's mechanics. I was turned away from Soulcalibur V very early, so I myself can't comment on the mechanics and the competitive side of the game. And for every previous Soulcalibur to be a success, and for Soulcalibur V to completely bomb as hard as it did, just goes to show how quick the tables could turn. But you know, every great franchise has its black sheep. This will ultimately affect Soulcalibur VI because of the failures of Soulcalibur V. Soulcalibur VI would be made on a lower budget, probably didn't want to waste too much on it in case another failed game. Hence why, if you're a longtime Soulcalibur fan, you will quickly notice the very much lack of content and features that previous titles had to offer that are nowhere to be seen in Soulcalibur VI, in which this is actually something we are seeing more and more in modern video games. On top of that, the story is just slideshows with voice audios, which was pretty disappointing. When I first heard Soulcalibur VI would have a story mode, I was stoked, only to see it's just portraits. Shockingly, I did enjoy Libra's soul story more than the actual story. Don't even get me started on Huang's story chapter. Oh my god, that was beyond a drag. Almost fell asleep twice. I'm sure if they had a bigger budget, we would have gotten more cinematic stories, but they had to make with what they had, because this game almost wasn't going to happen in the first place. So despite having to work on a game with a smaller budget, Soulcalibur VI sale-wise was actually a success, selling over 2 million copies, announced back in July 2021, which for a fighting game is impressive, especially one that isn't one of the big three. So that seems like a victory, right? And that's from almost 4 years ago, so who knows the current overall number. I can't find it anywhere updated past July of 2021. Well, here's the thing. While Soulcalibur VI selling over 2 million exceeded Bandai's expectations at the time, there's no word or guarantee that means in the eyes of Bandai it warrants a sequel. Like, yeah, we know it surpassed the sales Bandai thought it would be, but we don't know if these sales are enough for Bandai to sit and say, yeah, that was enough for us, we'll make a Soulcalibur 7 now. I want to say I do not 100% know if this is fact, but at the same time I could see this being a possibility. It still took the game a little over 2 years to sell 2 million copies. When Soulcalibur IV released, July 2008, sold 2.3 million by March of 2009. So even though Namco sees Soulcalibur VI as a success, did the money come in at a time span that they would like? Probably the explanation to why there was never a season 3 and the plug was pulled on any further update of the game after only 2 years of the game being out at the time while it was still in its prime. Not to mention Project Souls and Bandai completely and utterly went ghost on the community almost an entire year, leaving everybody hanging high and dry, wondering if there's gonna be any more DLC or news or anything, only to finally update some news to tell us producer Okabu is leaving the team, which isn't world-ending because there's a new producer or director in like every game or almost every Soulcalibur game, but this did mean Soulcalibur VI was finished in terms of support. So just the way the company treated the whole situation around that time period, to me, kinda shows how little they care about this franchise. If we take a look at history, Project Soul seems to never be a stable team anyways. It is said that they departed after the absolute humiliating embarrassment of Soulcalibur V until Okubo decided to take it over for Soulcalibur VI, and now he's gone too. It would seem like Soulcalibur has always struggled to keep a long-term team for each title, so there's that. I mean, honestly, do we even know if Project Soul still exists? Like, that's the important question, cause it's not like Namco is gonna say anything. They're just going to leave the Soulcalibur community in the dark like they've been doing for the past 4 years. As a matter of fact, last year Harada actually chimed in to give some interesting information to pass in on the current state of Soulcalibur and the team of Project Souls. From what he knows, I myself don't use or really go on Twitter, so I would have never known, but this information went around the fighting game community, with even big content creators making videos about it. You can read through the whole thing if you like. I'll link it in the description. It's a lifelong tweet. But pretty much the important key out of this is right here. He says, but from my point of view, I don't think the fire of Project Souls has been extinguished. There are still a few people in the community who have the will to do it. I would like to believe that they are just not united now. Well, that doesn't quite sound like a good thing, not losing faith in Project Souls, but the few people in the company that can do it are not united right now. Well, that kind of sounds like Project Souls is not a team currently. And what, so there's only a few people willing to do it? These are not good signs. This is not something you want to hear as a Soulcalibur lover. But the harsh truth is the series of Soulcalibur is on live support. Now, as I brought up the release dates earlier, the longest gap between games were Soulcalibur V to Soulcalibur VI, which was a 6-year time span. Now, as of this video, we are onwards to the 7th year since the release of Soulcalibur VI, and there has been absolutely nothing even uttered by Namco about what's going to happen with Soulcalibur. No Soulcalibur 7 teasers or anything. Don't even got a team to work on a Soulcalibur from the look of Harada's tweet. But honestly, even before his tweet, I figured this much to be the case. You know, I remember a few years back, I would look at the views Soulcalibur would get on the Twitch viewer count, and they were significantly lower than almost every other fighting game and seems to never be able to keep its players. Now with Soulcalibur VI, I can tell you why a lot of player base most likely dropped. 2 words: reversal edge. I won't elaborate any further. The vast majority of the community in all skill levels feel the same way. We would be here all day. That mechanic from hell deserves its own video. And I think it's safe to say creation mode carried this game in keeping the casual as hell. Even if you're an experienced player or decent or even a pro, you know the creations is a strong selling point in Soulcalibur VI. But outside of that, for some reason, Soulcalibur has always had a smaller set of audience than any other fighting game. And I honestly never understood that. Soulcalibur to me is the most fun and exciting fighting game to not only play but to watch. A 3D weapon-based hyperactive fighting game, but I don't know, it just does not generate the massive audience that other fighting games do. To the day I die, I will never understand this, and I believe that has affected the way Bandai Namco sees it and treats it. Now, there's no secret Tekken is Bandai Namco's precious, most dear fighting game baby. I do not want to turn this into a Tekken versus Soulcalibur war, but it does need to be mentioned. They put most of their marketing and budget into Tekken and leave Soulcalibur with the scraps, which, to be fair, Tekken does sell extremely well for them. After all, it's one of the big three, and as of right now, only second to Street Fighter. But also, if they gave Soulcalibur the same marketing treatment as they do Tekken, we could probably get somewhere higher with the series. I always seen as Tekken is their golden child, and Soulcalibur is the stepchild that they never wanted. Compared to how vastly different the two franchises get treated, it would seem that way. It's funny because I've always had way more fun with Soulcalibur than I ever do with Tekken. I just can't play Tekken for long periods of time. Soulcalibur I can play for endless hours, endless days, endless weeks. I think Soulcalibur is significantly more fun in my opinion. But make no mistake, I like Tekken. Tekken is awesome. I just always prefer Soulcalibur more. So for people in the Soulcalibur community, don't take it out on Tekken. It's Bandai Namco you should take it out on. A certain friend of mine who will be watching this video, I keep noticing you say you hate Tekken because it murders Soulcalibur. Without saying your name, you know I'm referring to you, bro. No, Tekken 8 did not murder Soulcalibur because Bandai Namco already did that before Tekken 8 even came out. So once again, you can't fault Tekken or its team. They are just doing their job. Soulcalibur and Tekken have two different teams under the same company. That's it. So Bandai Namco has to be held responsible for that. So could we see a Soulcalibur 7? Will we get a Soulcalibur 7? And when could we see a Soulcalibur 7? Well, I think the best way to answer this is, am I confident a Soulcalibur 7 will happen? And the answer is, honestly, no. I am not confident a Soulcalibur 7 happens. With the complete silence of Bandai Namco on Soulcalibur, on top of that, it looks like there's focus on other things, and with Project Souls not even being a team right now, before we even consider a Soulcalibur 7, there needs to be people in the office to step up and oblige the ideal of working on a Soulcalibur 7. Someone needs to pick it up and give a damn. Now, this is just my thoughts. I could be dead straight wrong, and for all we know, they could be working on one in secret. I will hope I'm wrong, but as of this video, I strongly doubt it. Also, we are in the ages where links are shooting off on the internet like crazy, and yet we've heard absolutely nothing or even a link of a Soulcalibur 7. So at this point, I'm sure it's probably sounding like I've been negative this whole video. Some of you who are my friends already knew my thoughts before the video, but for anyone else, I don't mean to come off so negative. But I want to be honest about what I think of the future for Soulcalibur. I feel it's only fair to give you my real opinion and breakdown, rather than just sitting up here being toxic positive, giving someone false hope, because the truth is, it's not looking good. So I'm not holding my breath that a Soulcalibur 7 will happen. One extra thing I want to add that I should have brought up earlier, this game missing crossplay where PlayStation, Xbox, and PC players can fight against each other was a death sentence for this game. Most modern fighting games of the past 10 years has crossplay. Soulcalibur did not, and I think that killed the game quicker than it should have been killed. I swear to you, if this game had crossplay, it would have been kept alive longer, would have still ultimately died, but crossplay would have helped the longevity of the game, would have kept things fresh with more people to fight, instead of fighting the same exact person on your respective platform, and maybe even help increase the community in discovering one another. These past 2 years would have benefited from crossplay more than ever, especially Xbox. Jesus Christ, Xbox. I have some cool friends on Xbox Caliber, but man, did you guys get the worst end of it. For the longest time, Xbox side of Soulcalibur VI felt non-existent inside of the community. To give a glimpse of a possible scenario where if through a miracle of the galaxy we get a Soulcalibur 7, I just do not see that happening anytime soon, as in the next year or so. No, your best bet is after Namco gets done milking Tekken 8 or whatever other project they're doing, and then out of sheer boredom they decide to give their stepchild Soulcalibur some attention and start working on a 7. But as it stands right now, it does not look like a Soulcalibur 7 will happen. I'm really curious to know what more you think. If you watch this, comment down. I want to know your honest thoughts as well. Do you think we will definitely get a Soulcalibur 7? Are you unsure if Soulcalibur will stay alive? Or do you think Soulcalibur is done and that this is the end? Let me know. Have a good rest of your day and take care.